Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wonder Series. It is Wonder Series Wednesday yet again. It's amazing to be here. Wonder Series Wednesday is your opportunity to wonder how life would be if you looked at it from another perspective, if you changed your mindset and truly opened yourself up to the possibilities that are out there. Who would you be? What would you create? And ultimately, how could this help you live that healthy, happy, fulfilling life that you are absolutely meant to live? I'm Denise Siegel. I am your host here of the Wonder Series. The Wonder Series is sponsored by Living Healthy List, which is your home for honest, reliable, and unbiased information in health, wellness, personal development, and bringing a little bit more fun into life. Because if you're not having any fun, what on earth is the point? So this month, we've been talking a bit about how having a mission, having purpose and goals can help you to achieve resiliency in your life. And, when we talk resiliency, everyone thinks of it in different ways, but truly the main point of being resilient is that, when you fall on your face, you can jump back up and keep going, as opposed to, something happens and you're absolutely like stuck in the same place, almost to the point where you can't move forward anymore. So in the past few weeks on the Wonder Series, we've discussed how productivity and how passion really can help you gain that resilience. Today, we're going to steer the conversation a little in a different direction. We're going to talk about impact and how you can have the greatest impact on the world, from the people around you to the people on the other side of the planet. And my guest today is a returning guest on the Wonder Series. She is someone that I look up to and truly am in awe of. Kornelia Stephanie is a philanthropist influencer. She is a co-creator of Heaven on Earth. She is the founder of the Kornelia Stephanie Media Group and app. We'll talk a little bit about that later. Kornelia is a visionary. She is a spiritual mentor, teacher. She's a community builder. She's a community creator. She's a podcaster and inspirational speaker. And if I can add to that, she is one darn amazing woman. Kornelia, welcome to the Wonder Series. Welcome back.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you today, Denise. Thank you.
It's really awesome having you here. Oops. Sorry, my computer just went goofy. The trials and tribulations, right, of being live.
Yes.
Okay. I think I got it. There we go.
Awesome.
So again, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to have you share with our audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you came to be this amazing, incredible spiritual teacher, woman, visionary that you are.
Wow. Well, when I was asked this question, I went on the national news. I think it was either in 2015 or 2016. And the interviewer asked me, what does it mean to be a spiritual teacher? And I thought to myself, wow, no one's ever asked me that question. What does it mean to be a spiritual teacher? And what came out of my mouth, I thought later on after listening to myself, and I thought, wow, that was really true. And that's really exactly what it is. And that what it comes down to is really discovering what your own values are as a person. And how I became the person that I am is spirituality was really important to me, and knowing what my spiritual values are so that I can embody them and integrate them. And that was the beginning of becoming a spiritual student, a student of life who, is always a student, and also at the same time teaching what it is that we need to learn. And so what is it that we need to learn in the world? What is it that we need to learn as a soul coming into being here and contributing our love and our energy to each other? And that is to share our love and to share our gifts, our unique gifts that we came here to give. And so that is the work. That's what has been the work. And then also working with the shadow parts of yourself that also didn't feel good enough, that felt the shame, that felt the abandonment or betrayals from the past. So, really healing the core wounds of our past has been part of that student's teacher journey, and healing the core wounds so that we can really remember the truth of who it is that we are. But for me personally, it had to do with really having a strong spiritual foundation. Who is God to me? What are the right actions to take? What is the integrity of our human evolution? What does that mean to me? And really knowing what that is. And for me, it came down to peace, being living in a peaceful world. So when you introduced me, you were talking about heaven on earth. And so that also has been part of my mission, and that is to bring the consciousness of heaven. The earth already is here, and to bring the consciousness of heaven here and live it out and act it out with you and with my neighbor and with my client and with my mom and with my people in the community, to act out that heavenly consciousness and treat each other like we would treat each other in heaven.
Mhm. I think the whole concept of heaven on earth, it's something that I've heard from the time I was a child. When I was a child, I grew up in the Episcopal Church, had an amazing minister, and I know he talked about that. And I think at the time it was because I was young. I thought of it in a very different way than I do now. I don't literally, like, then I literally thought, the angels were walking amongst us and everything was bright and sunny and, kind of like my vision of what heaven was. But I think now as an adult, heaven on earth has a very different meaning, and it really is very personal.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly where to begin. I can ask you, Denise, what does heaven mean to you? What does heaven on earth, because the earth is already here, what would heaven on earth, what does heaven on earth look like to you? And then you would say to me, what?
Heaven on earth to me is a beautiful place full of love, peace, and laughter. I think for me, laughter really brings people together. And I think that's really what I would love to have on heaven and earth, is truly people being together, to supporting each other, to loving each other. Whether we agree or disagree with things, still really loving and taking the time to understand one another. And maybe that's where curiosity comes in. And so maybe curiosity is part of that.
Yeah,
I think curiosity helps us to grow.
Yeah, being curious. And I also love what you said about being able to be with people, even though whether we agree or disagree, that is a heavenly consciousness. And laughter for you is important. So you just gave us a definition of what it's like in your household, in your community, of what heaven on earth means to you. Laughter, joy, fun, creativity, curiosity, that's all part of that. That's what we would experience if we're coming into your household or being involved in your community, because that's what your values are and that's what's important to you. And I absolutely trust and know that you communicating this here right now means that you are living those values in your community, in your household. And actually, you talked about impact. That is the way that you can have the greatest impact, by living your values.
And I think that's one of the things that frightens people: living our values, speaking our values, and sharing them with others.
Right, right. Living our values, speaking our values, and sharing them. Mm-hmm. So I think the first place to begin is to sit with yourself and be with yourself on where those values lie. Mm-hmm. And that you give yourself the approval that I approve of this. I approve that this is my value. One of the things that I draw the line, I put the boundary, is that I will not condone any form of violence in my reality. So that's important to me. So if I was to see violence, projected upon another human being, I would speak out to that, because that's part of my boundary if it's in my reality and I'm going to see it. It happened to me at Walmart that I saw a big man standing over a woman, and he looked like he was about to hit her. And that's when I said, oh my gosh, I want to help this woman. So this was outside in the parking lot. And so I drove my car past them and made room in my car to invite the lady to come in, the woman to come in and sit in my car, and I would drop her off somewhere, because that's a piece that's really important to me, is that no violence on women and children, right? And so and to communicate that. Well, it just so turned out that the woman looked at me when I invited her into my car. The man too was very shocked that I would do that, but the woman told me to mind my own business.
Interesting. It's one of those things, like the person who comes in to support and to help, I think people are shocked and maybe embarrassed too by things that go on in their own world. And here you are doing this out of love and concern. And I can imagine. I was expecting you to say that the man said that.
Right. Yes, we would think that it was the man, but it was actually the woman. That's when I realized, wow, that dynamic that's playing out between the two of them is something that they're both choosing. They like that type of an environment. That's the energy that they want to play out, this kind of relationship, this kind of toxic. And she really didn't ask me for help. She didn't ask me for help. It did show up in my reality. And I did see that this man is possibly getting ready to hit this woman. And honestly, I grew up in that type of a dysfunctional household where I saw my mother, get, where I saw my mother's boyfriends project violence on my mother. So for me, this is a very personal subject, and also part of the reason what my mission is and my values are: peace on earth, heaven on earth, and to end the violence. And part of my own journey has been to really look at what causes violent behavior, and why is it that people do this to each other, and why is it that we're still projecting violence. We saw it the other night on the Oscars, of violence being allowed to take place, that a person is acting out on their emotions. So how is it that we can have the greatest impact? And that is to learn to process your emotions and not act out on them, but learn to process them, and process your own inner anger before projecting it out onto another person.
Do you think when it comes to emotion, especially the types of emotions that would elicit violence, are these things that we learn when we're children and we just don't address? Emotions are complicated, and they're kind of layered. So how does one even recognize that they're acting out on their emotions, as opposed to kind of understanding their emotions and then making a decision based on that?
I think that whole anger, violence thing becomes, again, something that you see in your life, that it's a toxic behavior or something that that is going on in your life, where you see it played out, and you are aware of it, and then you want to learn and change the behavior. But when you look at, we as a society, had not begun processing and healing our emotions, we've been stuffing them in the body. We've been holding back, and we haven't been processing our feelings. We haven't been processing our emotions. That's why you said earlier that it's hard to share your values with other people, because they may not be on the same page as you are, because of those exact things. And that what is the greatest impact that we can have? And that is to learn how to process the emotions that we've suppressed in our body because we weren't safe. We didn't feel safe to communicate them with the ones that we love.
Mm-hmm. That's, when I think about, not feeling comfortable or safe to share our values with people that we basically know, love, and trust. That to me is not heaven and earth. And that is, I think it's sad. But I agree that is one of the first things we need to do in order to create this. We all want to live in a healthy, happy, peaceful, joy-filled world. Yet many of us are not. Is it education? Is it the emotion? I would think it's a little of both. I'd like your insight on that.
Yeah, I would say that you are living healthy and happy in your environment. Your boundaries are, clear, that the kind of relationship that relationships that you have, there isn't violence happening in your life. So where is the violence happening? Where is it happening? Well, it is education, and really looking at, what does your movie look like? What does your life look like? What are your relationships mirroring to you? What is going on? How are you feeling in your life? And so I think that's where it really begins, is educating each other with processing our emotions. And a lot of times when we've seen in the news and the media where they were talking about, people have gone postal on each other, everyone blames everything on mental health. But one thing that people don't talk about is that emotion is the trigger that happens inside of a person when they get really angry about something. And that anger is what actually has to come out, because it's the anger that people are acting on. Even the other night when Will got up and went to the stage, he acted out his anger instead of looking at his own behavior before he went out to see that he was angry. And who knows what the anger is about, but underneath the anger, there's always some truth that is waiting to be recognized, of the person that's going to say, I've had enough. I don't feel heard. I don't feel valued. I don't feel respected. And now the anger is coming out because that anger had been suppressed for so long. And at some point, it's going to come out. But it's never, ever okay, especially not if you are influential and if you are a person out that people look up to. It's your responsibility to model a way. I mean, you have all the money in the world, you can have the best coaches in the world, it's like, come on, So that's where it begins. It begins with each and every one of us to learn to process emotion. Anger is an emotion. And so anger, it's an emotion. So people have been projecting their anger, this emotion. Either they do it through verbal abuse, or they do it through, picking up a fist and hitting each other, picking up a gun. It could have been a gun. So how does it begin? Is really educating people on the emotion instead of labeling them, oh, that's a mental health issue. That's, it's really learning to process your emotions when you get triggered on the inside. What makes you angry? You and I have talked about this before. You told me already that you really don't have a lot of things that anger. You had said that, right? Do you remember
did.
that?
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Right? You had said, I really don't have a lot of things that anger me. And that shows that in your environment, that there's really not a lot happening that really would trigger you to really get angry about something, right? But if there was something that triggered it, which that's where it happens for the people, is when you get triggered. And, not to control it or hold it back, because at some point another person could come and press that button, but
Right.
really to look at what is the emotion about, educating people that they have the power to process their emotions and let that anger come out from however long it's been there. We don't know, but that's what coaches and therapy and support, that's what it's there for.
That's what we do. And that's really why we do these weekly Wonder Series, is really to help people to like really think about things in a different way. And I want to point out another thing you said to me during that conversation that hadn't really crossed my mind as anger, was all the craziness that's going on in the world today. This horrible thing that's going on in Ukraine with Russia. And it's interesting, my emotion there isn't anger, it's sadness, it's disappointment, it's some fear. Different emotions. Because when you said that to me, I had to take a minute to understand how I actually felt. Like I said, it wasn't anger. But obviously, as a person who lives on this earth, who sees the television and understands what's happening to a degree, I obviously had emotion, very different emotions than I even expected. And I think that's kind of the beauty of working with a coach and counselors is you learn more about yourself. And I think this is one of the things that people don't understand about coaching. They think a coach is going to tell you what to do and how to do things. And it really is about asking the questions that you have to really dig deep and answer for yourself. A coach can help steer you, but it's really up to the individual to understand their own thoughts, feelings, and really understand those emotions. And so I'm really glad that we're talking about emotion in this way.
Yeah. When you said you weren't really even thinking about it before, because what we were doing is we were talking about how you can use your anger rather than using your anger to cause harm. You can actually use your anger to do something positive and let it creatively fuel you. Like basically, I'm going to show them, I'm going to do something positive with this, and that's not going to stop me. I'm going to do this. That would be a wonderful way to get your energy moving in a positive direction, instead of going, I can't do anything. I'm, victimized. I feel victimized, and I'm depressed, and then allowing that to paralyze me. But no, we can use our anger as creative fuel and going, I'm going to start a blog. I'm going to open up a YouTube channel. I'm going to do something. That would be a way to express that anger in a creative way, to let that energy drive you and not use it in a harmful way, right? But the fact that you got even more intimate with yourself by saying, well, I am sad about this. I am disappointed. And what were you disappointed in, Denise?
I'm disappointed in people, the fact that, now I'm getting emotional. Oh boy. The fact that one person can have such a negative effect on so many people and is excited about that. We did that. We've done that before. I mean, it doesn't work. But how many times does the world have to learn that because one person's ego? And so that's part of why I'm upset and disappointed. Yet at the same time, like so many of us, we're just kind of sitting here watching and I hate to say letting it happen, but in a way, yes. Everybody, it's all about politics and everybody's hands are tied and, the economic blah, blah, blah. But then I think of the people. I mean, I saw on the cover of Sunday's New York Times, women in Ukraine who, who are fighting back. I mean, they didn't leave. They have guns. They're fighting alongside the men for their freedom, for their country. And we're reading about it in the news. Sure, we've got sanctions as, different countries, and, I know one of the things that I know I can do is, as the CEO and curator at Living Healthy List, health and wellness is my number one. And truly, when it comes to the order of that, it's really health and food. And so that's the one thing I know I can help, is to support the organizations that are bringing in food and supplies and helping people there. That's how I can help. That's my impact. We've been talking about all of this and really how it can impact positively, even in this negative situation. What's that one positive thing that you can do to impact a situation? And this is really, I'm really a bit emotional here. I didn't realize, and now as I'm thinking about it more, I think I am getting angry.
Yeah, it's amazing, because a lot of times, right, we don't think that we're just kind of like going around. We're not really getting in contact with our anger because maybe no one has asked you really. And now you're speaking about it, and it's like, yeah, I am enraged by that. I don't like that. And that's the whole point, is to speak about, to talk about, to create a new way of living and being, and talk about the things that are not fair and that are not just. Yeah. That is what you're doing to have and create an impact, like you said, with Living Healthy List, and how you're not just, helping people with food, sending donations or articles or whatever, but also what you're doing here at home. And that's what I want to remind the audience with today, is that to have the empathy for the women that are fighting over there. And this is how I felt too, when I was writing my book. Peace, the flip side to anger. Peace, the flip side to anger. When I was in the middle of writing my book, I was renting out a room to a man in my house that had passed all the background checks. And when after he moved in, my roommate and I noticed a change in the air. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, it felt like, wow, this is palpable. We can feel this. And wow. She said to me, she goes, I don't feel comfortable. And I told her, I said, I don't either. And I said, I'm going to ask him to move. I'm going to have to ask him to move. And when I asked him to move out, he looked down at me, because he was 6'5" and I'm 5'2". He looked down at me and he said, you can't make me. Ooh. And I remember at that point in time, I had like 1,000 bullets that went off in my inside, in my body, that I all of a sudden felt so powerless and so short and small in comparison to this big tall guy that is.
I get it. I'm only 5'1", so I totally get that. I understand that feeling.
Right? And it was like, wow. But what ended up happening is that was actually happening. So I can claim my power within myself and not respond to him with his bullying the same way that he was trying to bully me. And so I simultaneously knew that this was a test. And so then I released my anger. And when I approached him again the next day, I came to him and I said, you are going to have to move out. And suddenly the bully then got scared and said, well, then you're going to have to give me back all of my money. You're going to have to give me back all of everything. And I go, yep, you're going to get back all of your money, but you're moving out, buddy. Mm-hmm. And so it was from that place that I was strong. And I did not, at first, if I would have acted in anger, I would have been acting out like, not in control, not empowered. I would have been screaming or yelling or acting like a victim. But when I came back the next day, I came back sure and
Mhm.
surety of myself that no, you're going to have to move out. After the man moved out, that's when I realized that's how the women and children feel in overseas in the Taliban when their villages get raped, and they get raped by men that they feel they have no control over, and that's what they feel like, what it feels like. And that's when I realized that we as a human race, where we've given our power away to whatever the drama is, the Taliban, the governments, all the different areas where we've allowed our freedoms to be taken away. Now is the time to claim it back. And what can we do for the women when we're watching those women right now in Ukraine fighting for their freedoms, is to be a compassionate witness and support them in their strength, that these women are strong, and sending the angels to work overtime to support them in their strength as they're claiming back their freedoms. That, I feel like, is one of the greatest things that we can do for them in prayer and in sending our energy to them. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I'm so glad you said that, because one of the things that people will always say is, well, what can I do? I live 3,000 miles away, 4,000 miles away. I don't have a lot of money. I don't, what can I do? And you just told us something so simple, yet so impactful, that each one of us can do. We all have it in ourselves to give that compassion and that love and send that and share that positive energy.
And can you imagine? Isn't that enough? Sending compassion, sending love, and seeing the women and children and people over there in their strength,
Yeah.
and in their capability and in their freedom. And I know the news is going to report what the news is going to report, but in the meantime, what can you give? What can you do? Isn't it enough to see someone in their strength and in, having compassion? Isn't that a wonderful gift?
I think it's one of the best gifts that we could give to anyone. People we know, people we don't know. We all have that in us. And then we would have a nicer world, wouldn't we?
Yeah. And so but it all starts at home. It starts first within you, because we know that it begins here at home with you, with me, with the neighbor. Because we know that on any given street, if there's domestic violence happening in the house, that's where we need to look first.
So
That's the
small.
war. That's the war that's happening. So those are the examples. When we were watching the Oscars, that was violence being played out. And now we can have compassion for the person that's embarrassed by their behavior because they acted upon their anger and their emotion without having the tools to process the emotion.
Right.
My book, I want to tell your audience, my book,
Yes.
Peace, the Flip Side to Anger, is, you can get this on Amazon, and it is like a power pack book, because in the first part, I talk about peace on earth and different things like, what, about my life and what I've overcome. And the second part of the book is a 21-day peace practice that invites you to practice peace in your life for 21 days, but not by sitting there, humming peace, but actually by going through your relationships and looking at, when you get triggered, how do you react, and what is it that you do? And also, raising your vibration, bringing gratitude in your life every day. Peace, the flip side to anger, how I use my emotions to heal my body and my life, and how you can too. If we all learn how to process our emotions and we become responsible, like if that whatever happened Sunday night didn't happen, then we would be talking about a whole different ballgame right now. We'd be talking about different things. So if we all learned how to process our emotions and not harmed each other anymore with either our words or our fist or our guns, no kind of violence of any form. That's what I stand for. That's what my message is. And that's how I live heaven on earth here in my reality.
And that's why you have so many incredible people who stand beside you, Kornelia, because you are so passionate and you are truthful and forward speaking about what is important to you in your world to create this heaven on earth. And I appreciate, I mean, I said this earlier in my, when I started, I always said, and I am in awe of you. I'm always in awe of you. The way you can present such a challenge and turn it into something positive and peaceful. I mean, that's a true gift. And I'm so glad that I get to share that with you and share you with our audience. We do need to start to wrap up. So we did talk about the book, which, by the way, people, buy the book, keep it by your bedside, 21 days, 41 days, keep it going. We absolutely want to make sure that we are doing the best that we can for ourselves. We do the best for ourselves in learning how to understand our emotion, learn about peace. We can bring that to our families, to our extended families and our communities. I want to talk real quickly, Kornelia, about something that you and I are involved in. I'm really excited about this. This is the Kornelia Stephanie Media Group app. Yes, everybody, an app for your phone. You get Kornelia on the phone, and me too. So please, Kornelia, tell us a little bit about the KSMG app.
Well, the KSMG app is the beloved 5-star app for you, the listener, to go to every single day and engage with the community of the people that influence you. All the world's best practitioners. Denise is in there, and one of Denise's profiles that's in the app, she has 4 words that she communicates with you with, and that's engage, empower, educate, and excite. And when you click on those words, then you can see really what Denise's mission is all about. You can click on the various different ways on how you can engage with her and how you can get excited in her online magazine. And that's just one of the ways. All the practitioners in the app have some mission, some message that is here to inspire you to live your best life. And so we invite you to answer with us every week the universal question, and also, listen to the podcasts that are in there and the articles that are there, but all designed to live your best life. So go to your app store, go to your Play Store, download KS Media, MEDIA Group, and download it on your phone, create your free account, get your free ebook, and come and join us. And we're just getting started. We haven't even been around for 9 months. We're still babies. And so it's really all good. We're looking forward to growing in the community together and bring you the world's best so that you have it at your fingertips every single day.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Thank you. You can also, if you're looking for Living Healthy list, like we said, you can find everything about me on the KSMG app. Again, it's a free app. So go do it, guys. It's really simple. It's really easy, and it's free. And you get the most amazing, incredible information from truly, truly experts in their field. So we need to wrap up. So I'm going to say thank you to everyone for joining us. If you're here listening to us live, thank you. Thank you. For those of you who are listening to the replay, please join us next Wednesday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're live here on YouTube every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, with the Wonder Series, we give you the opportunity to think outside the box and learn how to stop wondering and start living. I'll see you next week. Again, I'm Denise Stiegel with the Wonder Series. Till next week, I leave you with this: healthy living, happy life. Go check out the KSMG Media Group app and livinghealthylist.com. We'll see you next week, everyone. Thank you.